You know, the arts, as originally taught hundreds of years ago, I think were very similar in many respects. Because you had very advanced and often even enlightened masters teaching the internal systems, particularly internal kung fu, tai chi, xing yi, bagua. If you look at the history of these arts, the person or persons most responsible for developing these arts were very highly cultivated individuals. You might say that they were self-realized or awakened. Some of them were even addressed as immortals, even, showing that they had really fully awakened into a very high level of consciousness. Now, the fact that they had, through some mechanism, advanced to a very high level of awareness and consciousness was great for them, but what about everybody else? Not everybody is fortunate enough to just awaken and suddenly be an enlightened being. And so these masters, you might say, back engineered their own level of awareness and saw that in order to reach the level that they had attained, they had to first attain this skill, and then the skill under that, and then the skill under that. And those are often the drills, training exercises, qigong, and other practices form those components. It's like climbing a ladder, and each rung of the ladder is a different skill. But by continuously climbing that ladder, you'll get to the top. And I talked earlier about having like a pyramid or an iceberg. It's the same idea. And so Shaolin, which derived from Zen or Chan Buddhism, as it was called in China, and the Taoist system have similar origins, because at the Shaolin temple, which was a Zen or Chan Buddhist temple, they practiced as a way of cultivating their breath, attention, and awareness, meditation. And their way of understanding the world and reality was through the lens of Zen or Chan Buddhism, which looks at things as a way of coming into spontaneous balance and living in the present moment, fully in the present moment of awareness. Now, the founder of that tradition, of the Zen or Chan tradition in China, was a monk, a priest named Bodhidharma. The Japanese refer to him as Daruma Tashi. The Chinese call him Bodhidharma, or just Damo for short. He went to the Shaolin temple, which was practicing, you might say, the older, more traditional forms of Buddhism at the time, and over time taught these new methods of more spontaneous awareness and using awareness of breath and mind and consciousness to come fully present in the moment as a means to awaken and become enlightened. He had developed that by taking the art, the Buddhist art he learned in India. He was actually from India originally, but when he went to China and was exposed to Taoism, you might say he merged a Taoist sensibility with the Buddhist sensibility, and in that marriage, out of that conjunction, emerged Zen Buddhism. So Zen Buddhism, or the art as it was taught at the original Shaolin temples, actually had a very steep Taoist curve to it, as well as the traditional Buddhist one. Traditional Taoist practices tended to be very rooted in mystical practices, alchemic practices. Alchemy meaning the unification of elements, mind, body, breath, spirit, attaining different levels of consciousness, and then taking the elements that one has cultivated, combining them with other elements to create something new. And then that creates the opportunity for something new to exist that separate would not have existed. But together, it actually comes into being, into play. What has been the hallmark of most of the Taoist martial art practices are slow, rhythmic motion, which of course has been most expressed through Tai Chi Chuan, which means Tai Chi Chuan, the grand ultimate fist. And the grand ultimate refers to the grand ultimate principles of life in the universe, such as yin and yang, ways of accessing the totality of everything that exists in the universe at an energetic level. And so this study of energy, the laws of energy, how energy moves, was embodied in the classic Chinese internal martial arts, such as Tai Chi, Xing Yi, which was based primarily on one of the Chinese concepts known as the 5 elements, Bagua, okay, which is based on the 8 trigrams from the I Ching, the Book of Change. And so the Chinese internal martial arts were very philosophical and spiritual. And the physical movements were designed to create the internal state, feeling state, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, so that the person could access those very advanced spiritual teachings and understandings and become more awakened and self-realized. I think that the Buddhist tradition, of course, is very similar, particularly the ones at the Zen or Chan Buddhist teachings. So I often say that, it's like a right hand and a left hand. Which one do you prefer? Well, it's kind of nice to have both, isn't it? and so I studied, originally a Shaolin-based system, and then when I met my Taoist teacher, I studied a Taoist-based system, and then studied further Taoist-based systems. I started with Tai Chi and Taoist Kung Fu, and later learned Xing Yi and Bagua, and even something known as Lu Hao Ba Fa, 6 combinations and 8 methods. We call it water boxing because the art flows like water. So I deeply explored those arts, and at the same time, I was continuously studying the Shaolin tradition, particularly the core arts made famous at the Shaolin Temple, which was the 5 animal system: the tiger, the dragon, the leopard, the snake, and the crane. And monks over the centuries observed these animals in nature, because one of the things the Taoists and the Zen Buddhists were trying to do was to become more natural, to become in harmony with nature, to become one with the Tao, basically. And animals, of course, are naturally one with the Tao, and so they would watch how these animals moved, how they navigated, how they hunted, and they would try to get their physical body to move the same way. The Taoists did that, and the Shaolin school did that. That's why I said, in many respects, you might say they're almost like the flip side of a coin. You have 2 sides. It's like your hand. You got a back side and a front side. What side is more valuable? You want to give up this side? You want to give up that side? No. You need the whole hand.